Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to all our listeners and members of the public. Good afternoon to those of you who are on the commute to and from your workplace. Those of you who've just finished work and those of you who are now going to work to keep that production line, to keep that productivity of this great nation where we work 24 hours and we don't play. Yeah, we don't play. We want to he would do that. Yeah, he's outside. Yeah, we want to welcome you on the Third Empire. We do thank you, and we are happy for the time you're spending with us. Good afternoon to the owners and operators of this great radio station, Mr. Neil IWER George himself, and his family, and by extension his staff, who we cannot fail to acknowledge. Good afternoon to the producer, and we want to say thank you for allowing us the time and the opportunity to have this conversation with the public. With you members of the pavilion, we want to say thank you too. Because in this game of cricket, you are very important. I don't know that cricket is played behind closed doors like football. Sometimes because of our behavior, football is played behind closed doors. But I'm not too sure cricket will be as interesting. But you running to bowl, somebody batting, and that is the end of it. So we are very thankful for you, members of the pavilion, and we will have some members of the pavilion on the show today. I will have some guests who will share as we go along on this day. But before I go any further, Senior Matheson, good afternoon.
Right, so good evening on this very fateful day. It's light evening. It's a little overcast outside in Port of Spain, that is. But today is the 27th of July, to be honest, and that day has significance in Trinidad and Tobago. So I want to say good evening to all our friends who listen to us in New York. I know we have a lot of supporters in New York, and to them this show is something that they would want to always be listening to, because it gives some kind of connection to Trinidad and Tobago to a large extent. But not just those in New York, but those in Texas and those in Miami also. Wherever you are also, good evening. Those of you who are on your commute in Trinidad and are on your way home, share the live. If you are looking at us on YouTube, it is very, very, very important that you make this your number one show on evenings.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Well said. We could spend the time all talking.
Yeah.
But we promise you, we threaten you to learn on this program. We threaten you to learn. What we don't know, we have experts in the pavilion.
And to sometimes think outside the box.
In every cricket match, it had wannabe cricketers or could have been cricketers in the pavilion.
Yes.
They didn't make the team. They never dared, but they know a bad shot when they see one.
Yes, correct.
And they know when a man going to out as well. They could predict the game. They could coach the game. And as a matter of fact, what does be going on in the pavilion? A little coaching session does be going on. Move he from silly mid off. Move he can't catch. You understand? The pavilion does be having their own, scenarios. And that is important.
And if we were to enlighten that, the whole metaphor of the show, then it is fitting.
It is quite fitting.
That you would have said that, every day, all of this weekend we were hearing, who should be moved, who should be put off the pitch, and that kind of thing. And that is important, especially when you look at this particular, the significance of this day to Trinidad and Tobago, some 35 or 34, 36 years ago.
Yeah.
And how relevant what is happening today, you can actually put some kind of nexus to the time and the period we were living and the relevancy. What was happening during that time that really brought about that kind of, I should say, agony in the public to do what would have happened.
As a means of departure, let me take my departure by saying today that the conversation today, at least for the first parts of the show, it's a special conversation we're going to have. Now, when you were small and you wanted to go in the club or you wanted to buy something and they tell you 18 years and over, you were disappointed when you was younger. You're small. You say, God, I can't go in the... I want to go and see this movie. But the movie you have to know if it's rated R, rated PG. You have to know. Otherwise, you ain't getting in the cinema. You're not getting in the cinema. 18 years and over. Some things have an age limit for the audience. And that is significant because it tells you what are the things that might be revealed that you're about to view and what may or may not be healthy for consumption and thought under a certain age. So, as we are about to discuss the events of July the 27th, 1990, we must appreciate that this is our 36th anniversary. So let's start off with context. Today I had a young intern in the car, and she was saying to me, this cool thing, what that about? This 1990 thing, what is that about? Now, silly me thought it to be a silly question, eh? But then I asked, I said, remind me of your age. Just give me the year. She said, I think 2007 or so. Oh my, I said,
2007.
I said, you missed this game. You missed this ball by... you missed this ball by 17 years. You missed this ball.
I could have been a parent.
Yes. So I want us to understand fully and appreciate that this is a 36 years and over conversation. If you're 35, you was nowhere on the pitch.
Even if you're 40.
Yeah.
You probably might not have understood.
Even you're 40, you was starting to walk a little bit, because at the time of this 1990, I was born in 77. So I was 13.
Yeah. In 1990, I was in UE.
Right. And for a 13-year-old, this... When you're watching the explosion, the excitement is the dangerous things. You're seeing people with fridge and stove
on the back.
And you're hearing about tire and men tiffin tire, but you ain't driving. You ain't driving, so that really is not as significant to you. But this conversation that we're about to have, we have to appreciate that there is a generation and more than one generation who are unfamiliar with the details, the context of this coup 1990. And unless I dare say, unless this is part of our history, our literature history, meaning we write on it and we teach it, this is just another day. You're talking about 36 years ago.
That went down in infamy because, to a large extent, we still saw it as an aberration. We still saw it as something that should not happen. We should have killed all them people, and that was a bad example for Trinidad and Tobago, and that kind of thing. You will still hear that to a large extent, but sometimes we had to understand the context, why things would have happened. Sometimes we have to understand the players, the actors, And we have to understand also the time, what would have happened during that time. And I was probably a little older than you, but I was older than you for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, if you're in UWE,
And I was working already, but I was also doing a program at the University of the West Indies. So I remember that day as if it was yesterday because it was holiday time
Yes.
and I was in Tobago. As a matter of fact, I had just landed in Tobago that evening with a couple of friends from UE who we went on a little holiday. We went to Great Race and that kind of thing. So we was really anticipating a very, very nice. It was the first time we were going to Tobago together as a team.
Yeah.
And and it was probably even a little later than now when we got the news, because we actually got it not too long after. But I remember I was driving down Scarborough, and a gentleman, a Rastafarian gentleman, stopped me and he said, all the Trinis, all the can't go back to Trinidad, and they just take over all the Trinidad. that was his exact words. Or something to that effect.
What do you think about that statement?
And I say, Trinidad, I driving in Tobago, things looking normal.
Things nice.
And that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You telling me to just take over Trinidad. Well, we just went on as normal. And it's when we went back to the hotel, the guest house where we were, and we put on the TV, we saw the now Abubakar on television with a gun, and he on TTT, and he was saying something to the effect that Trinidad and Tobago is now, can't remember what he was saying, but in other words, he's saying the government has been taken over.
Yeah.
And they will make the rules or something to that effect. No. And that, to me, we didn't know how to think about it. Because to me, we went to Tobago to have fun, and what was happening in Trinidad and Tobago was serious. But I did remember when I got to come back. When I got to come back to Trinidad, reaching Port of Spain, it was really a different scene. And that was about 2.5 weeks after. It was really the walking through. I have pictures up to today walking through Port of Spain amongst the rubble on Charlotte Street and that kind of thing. It was like a war zone.
Wow.
It was like a war. I still have those pictures that I took with a friend of mine. He's around still, a good friend of mine. He was a fire officer, and it was amazing to see how Port of Spain was. But I did see a lot of the news because I was in the media too, and I did see a lot of what took place on that day, and what would have happened with respect to the burning and the looting and that kind of thing. People running on fridge and people on the beat moving on fridge and stove and bed and all kind of thing. Normal. Right, running home and thing. And that tell us something. So when we hear people talk about curfew, right? You have a state of emergency, but they didn't have no curfew in those days. Well, at that time, we had a curfew imposed. So, but that too was kind of fun, because with curfew now, there was a place we used to go and party during that curfew era, 6 to 6, in Roundabout Plaza. What was the name? Wall Street, I think was the name of the disco. When you go in there, you had to stay in there until 6 o'clock in the morning. You had to reach before 6. It's a line to go in. And it's party whole night until 6 in the morning. So all those things were things that, I mean, so many things I remember about that era, which was, looking back, in hindsight, you're looking back and you're saying, wow. But what we have to get out of this whole thing was really what was the climate, and what would have give rise or fed the movement for that to happen in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm not saying that I'm not seeing the same thing happening, but you have to understand that PNM would have run this country up until 1986, and Eric Williams would have died in 1981, and after Eric Williams died, the Prime Minister who took office was George Chambers. And George Chambers had a pretty steep hill to climb because the oil revenue, things were declining. And Trinidad and Tobago, for the prevailing 8 years before that or so, were accustomed to a certain kind of living based on the oil boom and that kind of thing. I think they said at the time it was about $2 trillion spent. And but then things started becoming just like that same kind of feel you're feeling now. That is how, for the most part, Trinidadians felt. A lot of things were changing. The government had to make certain decisions. You had inflations. People now started to experience the high prices of things, and to a large extent, George Chambers he felt the brunt of the public in terms of, for the most part, the public saw him as a man who didn't understand what to do. Although he said tighten your belt and that kind of thing. I remember one of the most popular phrases at that time after school was "fet over, back to work," right? Because they were trying to push productivity and all these things in society. But nevertheless, elections came in 1986, and all the parties, the ONR, the DLP, all those parties, Sugarcane Party, and all those parties, Pandey and all, they came together in a coalition. And they won the election. It was a landmark victory. It was like 33. It was 33-3 or something so like that. So they got more than a special majority to run the country. But the same feel you get now with the PNM and discontent and feeling that maybe they have the right to run the country. They are the only people who could run the country, kind of thing. With this new dispensation headed by O.N.R. Robinson, he, to a large extent, felt that he had to make some significant changes to the way we operate, the way we do things. And so I just encapsulated.
Yeah.
And to a large extent, he felt that we needed a certain kind of change. As a matter of fact, they had a lot of goodwill when they came in at that time, because I remember in '86, after that elections, we had a cleanup campaign. I don't know if you might have been too young to remember that, but that cleanup campaign was like you were actually saying let's rejuvenate, let's fix Trinidad and Tobago. It was a kind of feeling that everybody. That was how the goodwill. I mean, that was the kind of goodwill the people of Trinidad and Tobago felt for the government. Everybody came out, and it was a real cleanup campaign. But really, what it was supposed to meant, and what it was supposed to demonstrate is not just physically cleaning up, but cleaning up our mind, emancipating ourselves from what we felt was accustomed to us, and move to a level of productivity and that kind of thing, discipline and that kind of thing. That to a large extent did not happen, because what happened with the new government is that they started to put certain kind of measures in place which fed the underbelly of the PNM, because people were accustomed to certain things, and to a large extent they couldn't understand, or they felt as though they were betrayed, just similar to how they feel now with this new administration, that sweeping changes were taking place. We had austerity measures had to be instituted, like IMF conditionalities and things, because we had gone to the IMF and they would have given conditionalities in terms of retrenchment, in terms of pay and that kind of productivity and that kind of thing, and for which to a large extent the government of the day had to take into consideration. So those measures to a large extent brought about things that made it very, very difficult for some people, and those changes were felt across the board in terms of a lot of things changed after 1990. Similar to when you talk about 1970s, there were, well, as a matter of fact, 1970s, created or brought on more changes because 1970s was a more conscious kind of revolution as opposed to 1990. But to the elites, they saw 1990 as a group of miscreants, radical Muslims who would have taken over the country, and to a large extent that's how they saw it. But to me it had more significance. Some would say that it had some involvement with the PNM. They knew what was going on. Some would say it had more, some involvement with the UNC. Because you would have to understand that there was also a breakaway in 1988 with the party, that the structure of the internal structure of the party, it was the ONR, the NER, and that was an amalgamation of a number of splinter groups who would have formed that political organization. And as such, when they broke up and they formed something called Club 88, right, with Pandey, I can't remember the players, I have them, maybe a caller will help me with this, but that created some splinter in the ONR or the NER party, and as such, the party started going downhill from there. And to a large extent, all those things would have given rise to the discontent within the society. And of course, the Jamaat had their own issues, and those issues related to the property that they were on in Mokorapo. So all of that, to a large extent, would have culminated, and the public felt that maybe it was a good thing, we had to get rid of them, and it ended up in a coup.
Right. So, just on that point, we are going to talk first up, and callers, please hold the calls until we will tune you in. We're going to have a chat with a gentleman who had a bird's eye view. We're not talking about somebody who hear what went on. This gentleman was there. He lived through. We're going to give him a call and we're going to have a chat with him.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Arjun Singh. How are you?
Hey, good day, sir. Good.
So you're live on the Street 91.9 FM, the Third Empire. And we are here with Mr. Matheson and myself, and he was in Tobago, and I maybe something in the yard playing with something I was doing at that time. There are many of us who have heard people say, and I hear a man tote a whole fridge, I hear a man, we hear plenty things, who shoot who, we heard a lot. You have a peculiar view and experience with this July the 27th, 1990. Please introduce yourself, tell us who you are, give context, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to you, sir, and your colleagues. I was attached to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and more particularly the Special Branch. Spent over 30-something years there, where you do intelligence and VIP protection, mostly. On that day, on 27th July 1990, of course, I was a younger guy then, you know. I was on presidential detail. However, on the presidential detail, normally your movements during the day, and then at nights you go to functions from the evening time. But at the same time, while you're doing that, you are called upon to do other duties with the Prime Minister, advance work at the wherever venue. So I did the advance at the Red House. Okay, Mr. Robertson was coming from Tobago up. He was looking at some flood damage and so on. So he came to the Parliament around 3 p.m. and then I took my exit to the police headquarters to get prepared for my next tour of duty at 7 p.m. I went and get dressed and coming in back to the police headquarters. I met Solomon McLeod. That was around 5:30. And I can still remember it because today I woke up and, these things are going through my mind. It don't go away. It is locked in somewhere in your brain behind a door. It don't go away. It's like a death in your family. The date and time don't go away. So I spoke to Solomon McLeod. I told him, sir, Solo, how you early here? He said, no, you have a colleague to leave early to go down south. And by the time I get upstairs to the special branch office, now there were other people at police headquarters, in the canteen, in the video club, people come to do the little whatever it is on a Friday evening. Now, Mr. Rolox, what you hear normally, you hear what happened in the parliament, and what happened to the ministers, and what happened to the ministers, and what happened to the parliament. But nobody knew or know what went on at police headquarters, which is a main military building, so to speak. And any part of the world, something like that happened, you would have an inquiry as to what happened at your military or your police headquarters. Suffice it to say, I went upstairs. And then there was this explosion. All right? So I was a young officer at the time, so I drew it to the attention of my sergeant at the time. I said, Chief, I heard that? You heard that? He said, yeah, probably it's a transformer next door to where they were building the new police headquarters. And then here's a rapid gunfire. Now, you know the purpose of the special branch, and it's not a secret. Yeah. So we were targeted from the veranda of the Red House, and there was a hail of bullets just unloading on the special branch office at that area there, because we faced the police headquarters. I think that is St. Vincent Street. So things begin to happen. Explosion, gunfire, smoke. So we were looking for an exit from the special branch. Of course, the old police headquarters had two buildings, two floors, the ground floor and the upper floor. So we were peppered with bullets, and you had to take cover. At that point in time, one man don't win a war. You had to take cover and evacuate. So we were virtually trapped. We couldn't come through the main end door because bullets were coming through that. There was a CID office there, right at the main thoroughfare. People comes to make a report and accept. So you couldn't go there. There was bullets coming through that area and smashing up the glass in the car park in the old police headquarters. So I tried. There was an inspector, Inspector Johnson. He was a time, big guy, kind of wrote down. So we tried to escape. We tried about 2 points to escape, but we couldn't. So there was a stairs that lead to the cafeteria upstairs. So I said, Mr. Johnson, let me go down, and see what's happening. So the time I reached in the middle of the stairs, I had to run back because that explosion, explosive smoke and thing is kind of stifling you. So I came back into the office. I said, Chief, that is no exit. So then I remembered there was a staircase that leads to a section of the special branch downstairs, which was out of bounds area. So I went down there, and I remember going there, and I saw an air-conditioned vent. But when I look at it that time, I could have seen the car park of police headquarters through that air condition. There was spaces on the side, and I remember that. And then I took the people who were with me. I can't remember, 7 of us who was with me, including women, who was working at the time from national security. They were doing their work. So we went downstairs on that spiral, and I kicked out the air conditioning unit. And then I told them, well, of course, there was panic. Obviously. And if anyone should say they wasn't scared, I got scared. Of course you would. If nobody said they didn't scared, well, they should get their head checked by a doctor or something. So then of course, we had recently been trained by the British SAS soldiers in those days. So, it is training and, I don't want to go into this, but training and whatever it is that kicks in. And these people depend on you, right? They know. And so I tell Mr. Johnson, I say, sir, you go through the air conditioned vent. But if I go and I could have gone first. No, he would have come through and got stuck. And he did get stuck when I asked him to go. So I just rest my shoulder on his buttocks and push him through the air conditioned vent. Of course, I get some kick and so on because, that kind of touching and pushing him and that kind of cause. So I told him, I said, "So stay down." And he asked me why. I said, "There is a sniper on the crane that was building police headquarters." I said, "Stay down." So I just had to, there was panicking, there were women, and of course, you could imagine what was going on. So I said, "Listen." I had to use some industrial language.
Yeah.
I said, "Listen, I have weapon. Just do what I say. Just follow me." So while we may want to criticize people, but you see that police headquarters, we may want to criticize the colonizers and this one and that one, but that police headquarters saved us. If you know the thickness of those walls and so on at police headquarters, it is much stronger than the, I dare say, the new police headquarters. And that's what saved us. We took cover. So when I came out and then I said, all right, we're going to move from point A to point B, not in a line, but we're going to in twos and just take cover as we move on, kind of pepper potting until we reach our safe area. Suffice it to say, of course, gentlemen, and I don't want to be, everybody is built differently. Some people are built to do administrative work, some are built to do operational work. Some are just jokers, and I just say police run, and I don't blame them. Okay, all right, because they are police and soldiers.
Yeah.
I was there. I can tell you that. And what is so disturbing or perturbed about it is that these men just climbed the ladder in the police service and did nothing. You understand?
Yeah.
And reach where they reach. I say that because not only for me, but other people. There were people who work with my colleagues who work with Mr. Robertson in Parliament. And while all this was going on, they were being beaten inside that Parliament there. One of my colleagues who was driver of Mr. Robinson, special branch driver, Mr. Tong, lost his leg.
Yeah.
You understand?
We will be speaking to him in a bit.
Yeah. And he will tell you, he's a brave half Chinese. He stood up there and I can tell you something, when officials were running down the stairs and they saw him with the gun, at that time he had 2 feet, right? He said, no, come, it's police here. And then they go. And then I said, Tom, why you didn't go with them? But he said, boy, he thought he had another man with him. Only to know that man left him and gone, another officer. So, wow. and he took up, and I could talk to him because we talk every day. We talk this morning. We just talk every day. Because the guy has 1 foot and, nobody's there to give him any assistance. Wow. And I keep asking people, to go and collect his medication. He had to be driving his old B14 and run on the road. Car shut down and he hopping around the car on the highway to fix what? The battery one. How? These things get me so flipping annoyed, boy. And I just curse, but I won't do that. But you see, you can't do people that, boy. Yeah. He stood up there and he took cover, and he will tell you. And when the Minuzi stopped, he used his secondary weapon, which is the pistol. And he said to himself, is it me or you today, boy? And that was it. And I sent 2 days after they found the other person, whoever it is, and that's how we survived. So he will tell you in depth what really, because we talk and that crew, it made us kind of, we were already closely knitted, but it's something that, you retire and you go your own way. We keep in contact, we talk and, we discuss and how you're going and this kind of thing. But coming back to police headquarters, this is where, and then we took cover and we went down to the canteen area. In that area there, SRP guy took the canteen van and burst the gate open so people can get out of that thing, of that hole. Because the sniper, he was shooting into police headquarters because they didn't know what police headquarters, the kind of artillery or whatever it is. So you had what you call an L-shaped attack. An L-shaped attack is shaped like an L. So you had the sniper putting down firepower into the police headquarters, and then you had the firepower coming from the Parliament side into police headquarters, because you must lock down that police headquarters. You must take out your main high artillery and weaponry. They did well. They did the surveillance at TDT. They got through. They did the surveillance at police headquarters, and they were partially okay. Well, they get through. They didn't come in, because if they had come into that police headquarters, well, I don't know what would have happened between Leon and Case. And how Solomon McCall got shot from a third party was that they approached him and asked him for direction of some place. And while he was pointing, they shot him, and you run back into the entrance. That entrance, the north entrance, the main entrance to Pole Police Headquarters, just directly opposite the new police headquarters. And the vehicle, the Laura drive in, and they blow it up, and they block that entrance. So everything was properly well planned. And you see, gentlemen, we cannot look at this thing in a vacuum and say, okay, there was a coup, and okay, right, and okay. This thing is not like charging someone for murder. It is not like locking up gang members who season out $100 billion in drugs. These things, when you cut the head of the snake, it continues. You kill Osama bin Laden. However, you have hundreds of thousands of Osama bin Ladens. So what I'm saying is the tentacles are very far-reaching, and they don't go away. If you understand what I mean, this is how terrorism operates. You understand? And you see what is happening in the world today. Right up in the north there, by our neighbors on the 6th of January, what went on at Capitol Hill. In 1990, we had our issue here. And soon after, they tried to bring down the road world treatment in 98, I think it was. It wasn't successful. The car blew up underneath. And then in 2001, they brought it down. They brought down to the World Trade Center in 2001. And what happened? Then you had the Iraq War, and then you had the ISIS, and then you have Boko Haram in Nigeria, and then you have the Houthis in Yemen, and the whole place, the whole world is on fire. The whole world, and this is what we must look after, our vigilant of our democracy. We have a beautiful country, but yet still there are people who will become sensitized some way or the other, and things can happen. So you don't necessarily have to act in a group. They could act as a lone wolf, like what happened today, yesterday in Berlin. You have one man take a vehicle and run it through a crowd. You understand? Only to know that his name was Abdul B. And well, of course, he was killed today by the German police. So these things, we have reached another level in our society where our democracy must be stable, and to have it to be stable, you must be vigilant. And when this thing happened, there were police officers now who, weren't born, but they are working. Are they being told about what to expect apart from your policing?
Yeah.
But
how you... Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
But I just want to ask you, you as probably a serviceman in that era, and understood a little more than what we would understand, because you was a member of the special branch. Do you see any similarities? I mean, apart from the players, because those people that committed that offense at that time, they made up part of the national community to a large extent.
Correct.
And
Correct.
One would say that there were a number of things, prevailing circumstances, a number of things that was happening in society at that time, to them and
Correct.
also in society, which kind of resembles what's happening today. Would you say that seeing any similarities or any things that you would probably want to advise as to how we should approach Trinidad and Tobago, or the politics and that kind of thing?
Mr. June,
Brilliant.
we want to hold the answer on that question because we're 30 seconds out of break. So as soon as the break,
All right, good.
right after
So I'll hold on, right?
the next hour, we will call you. Right? Just look back for the call.
Good, nice. Okay, beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
we'll
so
answer
much.
that question again.
Yeah.
So we get a good view of a special branch officer.
Yeah.
And we will engage him after the break, and we'll have some questions, and we'll take some questions from you, members of the pavilion. Stay tuned on Street 91.9 FM.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
When every hand start waving, it's KFC a craving. Extra crispy or spicy, it blazing. So when it comes to flavor, you know we can't lose. It's popcorn chicken in 3 kinds of sauce. So you dip on, you dip on, you dip on, you dip. KFC popcorn chicken, make you dance while you dip. Yes, you dip on, you dip on, you dip on, you dip. Somebody bring the KFC quick, I'm telling you. Get your hands on KFC's extra crispy or spicy popcorn chicken, starting at just $35. Or grab the winning combination, 3 pieces of chicken and 4 tenders for $79.95. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Sound. We heard you. You've asked for it and we've answered. The Pan-African Festival TT is heading south on July 4th and 5th at C3 Center San Fernando from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Get a taste of the Emancipation Village before the big celebration begins. Shop with local artisans. Discover unique fashion, art, crafts, books, wellness products, and enjoy a vibrant cultural atmosphere. Calling all South crews. Bring the family, bring your friends, and come experience the energy, creativity, and culture that make the Pan-African Festival TT the greatest celebration of Africa outside of Africa. Good vibes, great shopping, rich culture, and something for everyone. The Pan-African Festival TT commemorating emancipation, igniting African consciousness, dismantling colonial legacies.
TechFlex TT Limited, the #1 computer store in Trinidad and Tobago, has all your tech needs. We have the latest computers, powerful MacBooks, and affordable Chromebooks for school and work, providing new and refurbished options to suit everyone's budget. Also, we carry a variety of printer options and ink solutions for your home and office needs. Need repairs done? Our experienced technicians can solve your tech problems. Visit us now at any of our 2 locations, Wilson Road, Scarborough, next to Royal Castle, or Penco Street, Montrose, Chagonas. Call 235-4919 for more info. TechFlex TT Limited. Affordable tech. Exceptional service.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday
from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning on the Street 919 FM.
Hear my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
Peace of God be multiplied unto you in the precious name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This is Redemption Hour, a gospel program where God will reveal His mind to you on how to live a fulfilled life and to please Him in all areas. Join Pastor Femi Afolabi, the National Overseer of Deeper Christian Life Ministry, Trinidad and Tobago, and other seasoned ministers for a time of divine encounter as they minister and pray for you every Saturday by 9 o'clock in the morning of this station, Street FM 91.9. Our church is Deeper Life Bible Church, number 1 Cochrane Street, opposite Tunapuna Police Station, Tunapuna. The times of our services are as follows: Sunday worship service 9 a.m., Monday Bible study 6 p.m., Thursday revival hour 6 p.m. The redemption hour is a life-changing moment you cannot afford to miss. For special prayer or counseling, contact Pastor Femi Afolabi on 778-9933. God bless you as you listen to this program. Jesus is Lord.
KFC onion rings, bring the sauce, bring the sauce. Committed to the crunch like a boss, like a boss. Add a ring, show me onion ring, onion ring, onion ring, onion ring, ding. Show me your onion ring, it's a ring, ding. Yes, it's a brand new thing called onion ring. Level up your order. Onion ring, chicken sandwich full of flavor. Add a ring to your twister. Somebody better go and tell the neighbor. Add a ring, show me onion ring, onion ring, onion ring, onion ring, ding. Show me your onion ring, it's a ring, ding. Yes, it's a brand new thing called onion ring.
Show off your ring at KFC with the new onion ring chicken sandwich for $34.95, or get a regular side of rings for just $15.
Upgrade your main meal and your side piece too. KFC onion rings now on the menu. Add a ring, and every ding ding. Add a ring, KFC onion rings.
KFC, show me your ring.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
So we're back, and we will continue with our conversation with Mr. Arjun Singh. He will.
Yes, gentlemen.
All right, good afternoon again, Mr. Arjun Singh. So, Mr. Matteson, you will ask him the question again?
Yeah, I was just asking him, having regards for the players in the what would have happened. We know who they are and who they were at the time, and we knew what the prevailing situation and the conditions of the economy. We know what the politics was about in the country. We know what would have happened with them, the actors in this particular issue down at Mokorapu and everything. Are you in any way, if you were to look at what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago now, are you seeing any similarities? Are you seeing any, you being a law person, a lawman or whatever, national security person, are you seeing any situation that could present any kind of risk to Trinidad and Tobago in the same way that it took place in 1990?
Yes, sir. I like your question. Straight to the point. Hit it on the nail. No beating around the bush. Okay? And this is the problem. We tend to be beating around the bush on the real issue. We're going around in circles with all sorts of things. But before I go to that, remember, before all that is happening now, and after 1990, there were people here, and it's public knowledge, who left here and went and joined ISIS. All right? And they all died. And their family is in the northeast, in camps in Syria, or about 100 of them. All right? So you're big, you have sense, you understand what is happening there. So these people going up there and they do the thing. And one of the things, gentlemen, is you must understand, when people, first to begin with, to do this, let me put things in perspective. You must have a target, and I'm giving you the cycle, the terrorism cycle here. You must have a target. You must have the mastermind, the planners, those who are doing the surveillance, the execution date, and of course the escape after, and what is the intent. That is how the bad guys will do the thing. They don't get up one morning and take up a gun and say, let me go and do this and do that. These things have to be happening over a period of time. Okay? And we have to be very, and those questions, the authorities, the intelligence agencies, the police service, and all the people who, they are the ones who will know if they are doing their work and doing it in a very proper manner. They will know how to counteract those situations. But from my point of view, and they will have the resources, I mean, from the time I left the service to now, and listening and reading and hearing what is happening, it does not necessarily mean that it will have locals to do what you have to do. I mean, look at what is happening. We have an influx of people coming in the country, migrants. When you reach here, they are migrants. All colors and all characters here. Now, it is very easy to to look at these people and identify them first of all, and you begin to radicalize them, and then you begin to let them do what they have to do. In whose interest, I don't know. But what you can do, and I mean in countries, well, look at Haiti and look at these other countries and governments. They had mercenaries, fellows from different countries coming to overthrow the government and whatever it is. This is part of the whole system we have in the world now. You understand? We talk about democracy, and yes, I talk about democracy, and I talk about dictatorship, and you talk about all sorts of things. Okay, but then there is something in the middle of all of that, and that is to sensitize people to revolt and to overthrow. Now, I'm trying to give you an answer to what your question, and your questions are very excellent, and you drill down on it. And as I said before, we have to be vigilant. Everybody needs to account for whatever any wrong you see doing. Do not let it run because of politics. If you see, because you see, this thing can go on and on and on. You know, if we begin to take side. In 1990, you know what was happening. There was this whole big wave of animosity towards the then government. But what happened? At the end of the day, it is the members of the protective services who had to stand up there. Some lost their lives. I don't know how many. Two officers of when I think lost their life, MacLeod and Mr. George. And these, the point I'm making is, we are the ones, when I say we, the police officers have to stand there and begin to defend this country. Okay? And a bullet don't have a name on it. A bullet don't have a name, gentlemen. So this is what we have to be very, very, vigilant and see that this thing doesn't reoccur in this country of ours. I mean, we have a beautiful country. You understand? And yes, there were people when it comes to politics, things play in a certain way that, wish the worst for people, and which is okay, that's the politics, but take in mind that this is our land and our people, and we must do what is right for the people, and not only to look at the crime, and this, you must look at what they call the social intelligence. And what is the social intelligence? Is providing the proper services that citizens may require so that it does not turn into a disaster, or they turn it into a disaster and begins to, take to the streets. Because I can tell you something, gentlemen, and I'm saying this and try to follow what I'm saying. You do not have to use, again, you can have people come in and do the dirty work and get out. Secondly, you have gangs, and the gangs can turn into militia. And when the gangs turn into militia, it begins to take sides, different sides. And like what's happening in Haiti right now, you have gangs, but they represent different political entities, politicians. And that's what is happening in Haiti. 70% of Port-au-Prince is run by gangs. So while we may look at Haiti and you see, and I say Haiti because they have a very resilient people. Look at who would have thought Haiti would have been the World Cup? You understand? All what they are going through. And this is what they are resilient. Can we at this stage in our lives withstand another coup, if you want to call it that? Because you see, gentlemen, with the technology now, you don't need that kind of thing. There are technology you can use to do what you have to do. Okay? And I'm saying this because it is out there already. Okay? Iran has drones, 20,000 to make a drone, and it costing the Americans $3 million in one missile to put on one drone or 2 or 3 drones. $3 million for a American missile to take out a Iranian drone. So you see, this and these things, all these things is properly well connected, you know.
Mr.
Hamas,
Junzeng,
Hezbollah.
let me interrupt you a bit.
You know?
Before we wrap up, because we want to try and get Mr. Thong. Just some pointed questions, and you can be very brief with your answers. Post the events of 1990, as a serviceman, as somebody who served the country during that period and before, how was the post-coup relationship with the state? Was there a lot of assistance? Was there social services and programs for the officers who were involved, affected, who were there? Was that that type of...
Bluntly, no. You know, no. And secondly, you ask yourself, did they learn from the coup? You know, did they learn from that? That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
The answer is no. You know, whoever it is or whatever it is, no help was given to these guys. I mean, some people must died.
Yeah.
Some must reach dementia state or Alzheimer, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I survive. Okay, I'm okay, healthy, and everything. And Tong is there. He's okay, good. But some people are forgetting. I mean, come on. It's 36 years old, and those years people must have been 50 years old.
Yeah.
You understand? Approximately around. So what?
Yes.
So there's 80 something, over 80 years. So, you know, we have to be very mindful. I don't know. There's a gap. Somewhere there's a gap.
Yeah.
And I wish, you know, that somebody looked into that thing. And I don't know, but I don't know. It's a difficult situation. And you wonder whether, you know, those who are supposed to protect and serve and defend, and whether they, you know, the interest is there
for the employees.
Kind of thing, yeah.
So, Mr. June, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for going back to a place that was not a happy moment at all, but thank you for clarifying and give us that ground view, that bird's eye view. I admit to you, and you said it, there's been a lot of furor about what has happened in the parliament and with the parliamentarians. But as far as the servicemen and women, workers, I'm sure there were other types of workers at work that day who may not have had the skill and the knowledge that you possess.
Yeah, you know.
And there's not much said about them.
Correct. No. I mean, these people come out, I mean, after that 6-day negotiation, there were police officers and soldiers who were out there, you know, doing what they're supposed to do and that kind of thing. But in the initial event of the thing, you know, when the thing started, you know, those are the fellas. I mean, we were, for the 3 of us, 10 of us was given bravery award.
Yeah.
After 30-something years, they called us and gave us a bravery award, you know, and that kind of thing. So you see, I mean, it's country first, and people ask the question, would you do it again? Of course I will do it again, but maybe in a different capacity, intelligence-wise and whatever it is. But you see, you know, and gentlemen, look, forgive me if I said anything wrong, I apologize, you know, and it was nice speaking to you all, you know. And
thanks for sharing. Yes, you have a good afternoon. Somehow we always forget the people on the ground.
Yeah, and that is important. But one of the things that we had to understand, and we had to take, there's in everything, every era, everything that happens, there's some teaching, some learning, some lesson that comes out of it, and something you must. And you know, we have to understand also the antecedents, and I would have spoken about it a little bit. There are a lot more historically, you know, if you look at the time at which things take place, to a large extent, the goodwill of the UNC to a large extent is diminishing, and it is diminishing very quickly. That is not to say that the conditions for these things is rife, but we have to understand antecedents. We have to understand why things happen. And in closing, the officer made a statement, and he said that we had to look at the social, we had to look at the economics, we had to look at the people who are being left behind. Because, as I would have said on the last day, Trinidad and Tobago certainly isn't feeling, I mean, if I could say that, it isn't feeling like how it was feeling, say, 15 years ago or so. Right?
Yeah.
Things are drastically changing, and it's changing at rates that is astronomical.
So let me see if we get our other caller here. It is very, very heart-rendering to hear servicemen, speak out. Because I know part of their training and their discipline and ethics, and a lot of people will tell them, don't speak out.
No, well, their role would have been security. So if you can have some, I mean, there are persons in all areas that could see something of significance in this what would have happened. Maybe if you see any calls, you can take the calls too in between.
Yes,
but,
this caller has been calling for a while, so we will take him.
Yeah.
And then we will get back to our list. We have a few more people we want to talk to. Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, and to your listeners. The more things change, the more it remains the same. Because, I said on the cherry, to my knowledge, right, what happened in 1990 was because people in the pavilion have been watching the match and they just get fed up. They just get fed up and decide it's time for them to take a little play, right? And the thing is, as I said, the more things change, the more it remains the same. It appears by all indications that the politicians have not learned their lesson. So apart from this voice note with Star Sabga, I wouldn't be surprised if it have a group of people in the pavilion who at some point just run on the field and take over. Because it have a lot of things that is being done that they cannot say is in the interest or for the betterment of the country or for the wider population. It is ridiculous. But then again, what we expect, when you play foolish games, you win foolish prizes. We have individuals holding positions, and their shortcomings are glaring to see that they are not fit for certain positions, but we still have to endure that. We still have to endure these kind of ridiculousness. Up to now, right, with all that is happening, is anybody any clearer on what the threshold is for somebody to be held without charge, without any just being collecting dust? Anybody clearer on what the threshold is? Or is it still the minister could just get up any morning he feel like, and he might say, boy, me and I go roll up, say, yesterday on the radio, I go issue a PDO for him. It is ridiculous that we have to consistently endure these things regardless of who is in power. And we are not waking up as the gentleman you all had on recently. We are not waking up and being real with ourselves to understand what is being done to us in this country. No, we are busy and occupied with blindly supporting this party, or just the hate that you have for our next party. You take the position that your party can do no wrong, and we continue to spin it up in the mud and get nowhere in the country. But you think it's easy? But as I say, I won't be surprised if a group of people on the pavilion decide one day that they're going to just run on the field and cause some disruption. Anyhow, I'll look on and listening, gentlemen. Thanks for allowing.
Thank you, caller. Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Mr. I just forget your name, man. I'm a partner with you there. And good afternoon to you too, gentlemen.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Now, when I listen to my partner there just now, And I'm missing a man called Alien Man. I don't know. There's a man who got, Mr. Manning had this training how to operate heavy equipment. Got passed in training to operate a crane. And from there he moved on. And I don't know if by now, because of the skill that he was able to gather under that training, most likely I ain't hear him for a few months. Most likely that took him out of the country. So wherever you are, Alien Man, good evening to you. But Mr. Matterson, that's your name. Mr. Matterson, yes. And to the gentleman sitting down next to you, good evening again.
Good evening.
Wow. Did you hear that 15 minutes audio from that incident? You know what is surprising, what hit me there? I keep telling you, and I will draw this analogy to 1990. So today, we are celebrating that day. Or we not celebrating. We are, how to put it, memorizing or whatever it is, put it.
Yeah, commemorating. Yeah.
Commemorating that day. We've been celebrating it. So, 1990, you know that didn't do anything for my people, Mr. Matterson. 1990 intention was to help the poor persons in the community because they didn't like Robertson, take away with cola, take away their 5%. They started jump on plane, go Canada, leave the ACC house abandoned, Neil Massey, stop assemble cars, Toyota stop assemble cars, Ford closed down. So you understand how the economy was going. And that had nothing to do with the government. That is just what they inherited. And at that point in time, that was a global thing. But again, opposition at the time, and we had two opposition. We had the PNM. Well, Pandy did kind of join up with Robinson at the time. So, the citizens, I was a bit upset. And up comes a man and created 1990. So I was working on a kiss truck. I in Maraval, called for a reload. I watching the news, watching the TV and seeing this thing on the news. And watch Mr. Baka come over. I think it was, I forget the young man name at that time. Fair-skinned Indian fella.
Dominic Kalipasa.
That's the man. Call for a recall. McCarthy said, no, I'll bring the truck inside. Driving down George Street. And I think it was 9 o'clock in the night on tonight, 27th of July. People already started looting. I went home because to me, there's a normal thing. Me see nothing. And people in town, you know. When I reach home and I get up in the morning, I saw a forklift in my street driving up the road. Tired. They take that forklift from quite past the street. The men walk whole night, empty a tire.
You get some tire? You get some tire, stop and level.
No, I was too late on the scene.
All right, just too late. All right, go ahead.
Right, we had Apang on the main road. We had Long Life mufflers on the main road. The main road from Mova Junction to Port of Spain was business. Well, yeah, now only tire. After 1990, from Mova Junction to Port of Spain, had nothing again.
Yes.
From Duncan Street, from by the market where they just flooded at a gas station opposite, that gas station come and move. Because they just full of water.
You know where Simpsons in? You know where Simpsons is now?
Uptown somewhere?
Nah, that is on the main road after.
Yes. Of course I know where Simpsons is.
People probably stole coffin and thing too, casket and thing too.
Well, like by Speedway. When you pass by Speedway on the main road, Speedway outside with the 16 gauge and you had 2-3. If you had that kind of thing, you could have protect your thing. I stand up across the road at that place. I stand up in the Quazy. Like let me say tomorrow. Yeah. And there's a place called Mad Munchie Shad across the road. I stand up by what is now Bustumanus. Right. I stand up across the road, a group of people outside, everybody watching the thing. There's a place selling gym equipment. Everybody watching, nobody ain't moving. One man felt a stone and break the glass. One man. And before I could open my eye and close my eye, and when I walk across the road and I reach inside, it's empty.
Ants.
Men going with gym equipment?
Yeah, I tell you. I go over the highway. That time they say Clim short. Clim price going up. I go on over the highway by a place called Handenall. I take a kiss van, run away to a kiss van, and I go on over the highway now. I get in the thing. They say Clim milk short. When I go inside Handenall, it had Clim milk about 40 feet back on top each other. And I only seen men climbing up forklift, toting on forklift. When I walk forklift, you know. Man who have business and have grocery, pulling up, man loading up the truck and they going. 1990, I lost H.E. Robinson, had to change hands. And several business, George Umbala Joseph, closed down, never catch back himself. He was the president at the Groceries Association. You know. He had a Bentley, you know. You know, it was them time for a black man in Trinidad, they go have a Bentley. And they want to tell me, we ain't have nothing. In them time, he's a black man in Trinidad and Tobago with a Bentley and a Rolls Royce. 1990 crashed that program. Every business from Mova Junction, Duncan Street at a car company, on Duncan Street on one side of that man selling soft drink in Ken Gordon, selling soft drink and beers. On the next side is a place selling Peugeot and Renault. High up Duncan Street is the hardware. After 1990, everything gone. And on top of that, Maxi Taxi started run on the bus route. So Maxi had no cars on the main road again. That eliminate that piece right there alone. So that part of Port of Spain live until when there is no economic activity, what do you think will happen? 1990 didn't benefit me nothing. Black people lose everything they had from 90. You know, and you know what give me? And you know what they give me? Guns. After 1990, Africans took more guns. We was fighting for the rights based on education and human rights. All of a sudden, we decide to fight for rights with a firearm. Right? So after that, we had several groups that fall away from that institution from 1990. Several different groups, because there are men who disagree with Baka in this problem, and they pull away and form their own group. And that started a whole new war. That is why we have a man today. He's a descendant from that insurrection where he locked up today to carry you all the way down Tetron. And he's a descendant from that generation. Right now he locked up in a detention. Because why? Same guns. 1990 didn't help me. So all the talk, they want to think, I am not giving that gentleman no praises. Because he kept us back. Where the people who I used to call Potik used to pass by me on a weekend and collect 50 cents from my neighbor. Buy H.E. Robinson and buy and continue. Carib Stag, Berry stood 99 cents. Carib 99 cents, Stag $1. Stag closed up. I would Stag. And today, so the 1% just created just recently, you know. We the top of 1%. The 1% only come. How long is this? How long is this school? 30 how much years?
36.
Right. So they in full existence about 33 years. They blossom after 1990. Look at the picture. Think about it carefully. They blossom more after 1990 than any other. And then we had who benefited from Dolce. So we as Trinidadians, until we accept the fact where we are, we ain't going no way. And I have a person now, and listen to if you listen to that thing in our statement, hear what the lady said to us. Hear what the lady said to her granddaughter or whatever. She said, no, the same black people, them fire all them black people and the same black people. Now they're having a conversation among themselves, you know. And hear what the aunt is saying to the next one. And you know, we just hire them. We are the largest employer of them. And when I say that, everybody vexed. Isn't that a fact? Because we lost what we have and they bought what we have. So now we are not employing anybody. Now we become the employee. And part of that is because union. Ask anyone in car company now, you have a union inside it. Making noise like how they used to make noise long time. That we buy a motor car in 1990 for $100,000. That assembling right here. That it make sense? Gentlemen, enjoy the evening.
Right. Good afternoon. Perspectives all. Let me try and see if we could get our guess again. Perspectives. On 1990, we have different perspectives from one event, as it normally would, because even in the pavilion, people have different views. Some people see it edge. Some people say they hear the edge. You didn't have third umpire then. You're watching cricket and you're listening to the radio. I never understood why you usually walk with the radio to the
It's good
to the match.
It's good to hear what happened on the outfield, what happened
Yes.
on the field, but
Yes.
it is also interesting that we are not hearing much of what the value of what the lesson learned and how what we are doing to change that or to benefit from that value.
And where does that responsibility lie?
Well, it lies in everybody, but to a large extent, the politicians must understand the history. They must understand what action would create, what reaction your action would create, and what will cause you to lose goodwill very fast. The thing is, at the end of the day, and our first interview, in the end, he touched on something very important. And that is, we had to understand our people, we had to understand the social issues in Trinidad and Tobago, and we had to deal with it, because to me, that is like dealing with the problem from the genesis.
Yeah.
You know? And we know what is Trinidad and Tobago, we know what kind of people we govern in. And we know what, at the end of the day, the economy has to turn out, it had to revolve, things had to trickle. And if everybody is able to survive on an equitable footing, then what we will have is less avenue or less opportunity for the kind of things that happened in 1990 to flourish. Because some would say, a lot will agree, that what happened in 1990 wasn't planned by the majority, right? But it was supported, certainly, by a lot. And if you really want to not be part of the support of what happened, because they would have, what happened with the Muslimin, in my opinion, and this is my humble opinion, they saw a certain level of injustice taking place with them in particular, and they planned against it. And if you understand how Muslims operate, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth kind of thing, they certainly, I don't think they was interested in what was happening in the commanding heights of the economy and the broader politics, more than they had some concerns with in their own little enclave and what was taking place there, and the injustice they saw, what they thought it to be, with their own position, and they decided to take advantage of that situation, and it took root with a number of people. A number of people felt that, hey, listen, what's going on here is not what we are accustomed to. What's going on here is maybe we should probably join with them or support it. Whether we support it in just looting and, whatever, but it did significant damage to us, ourselves. It did. You hear how many black businesses went out of business, which is kind of different from what happened in 1970. And if you understand the antecedents of that, you had a lot of you had a lot of banks that was more or less nationalized after 1970. You have a lot of industry that became indigenous to Trinidad and Tobago, but which had its roots somewhere else. That is not the case with 1990. And all those things are things that, I would like to hear someone analyze it, put it into perspective for us, because to a large extent, if we didn't learn from those kind of things, then it will be very difficult to move forward.
Let's try our next guest. And you're so right. If we do not... Hello, good afternoon, Mr.
Hello, good
Pilgrim.
afternoon.
How are you?
Yes, good.
This is Ronaldo.
Fine, thank you.
This is Mr. Rolex calling from Street 91.9 FM here.
Yes, sir.
On the Third Empire show. I'm here with Mr. Matheson, and we're discussing the events of the 1990 coup.
Mm-hmm.
And we know you were very active at that point in time. You have a peculiar view. You had a peculiar role. And we just would want you to share with us what was your role then, and just give us your life lessons from your perspective, genuinely yours.
All right, fine. Well, on that particular day, the 27th of July, 1990, I was assigned to the security detail of Mr. Mr. Ian R. Robinson, the then Prime Minister. And that day was a peculiar day for us because Mr. Robinson constituency Tobago East, the night before the 26th, there was a storm, and he went up to Tobago. We went up to Tobago on the 27th. The first flight to Tobago on that day, we went to Tobago, and he went to survey his constituency of Tobago, which consists of Roxborough right down to Speyside, down to Charlottesville. And there was extensive damage, and he was very concerned, and he wanted to be there to show some support as the representative. And from there, he spoke to some of the constituents in his constituency, and we did a hurried return because there was Parliament that day starting at say between 1:30. So we got back to Parliament, and I was there along with my colleagues, Mr. Maurice and Charles, Mr. Tong, Sergeant Maurice, Sergeant Charles, Mr. Tong. And we accompanied Mr. Robinson back to the parliamentary chamber, and there was a heated debate going on at the time. And around 6 o'clock in the evening, we were in the chamber, three of us, Sir Charles, Mr. Maurice, and myself. We were in the chamber. Mr. Tong was downstairs by the cars. And we were in commotion. I was speaking to one of my special branch colleagues. He wasn't assigned to the security detail at the time. And he said, Pilgrims, what happening here? So I just pulled one of the blinds and I look outside on the northern side of the chamber. And I saw something like some men dressed like what I consider to be soldiers, because they had like police top, that's the sweater, and they had on army pants. And they were coming towards the northern entrance of the chamber. All right. So I thought to take cover, but by taking cover, there were a lot of persons in the parliamentary chamber were running helter-skelter. Mr. Maurice and Mr. Charles, we tried to get up to Mr. Robinson because that we are trained men. That's what we are supposed to do, protect the VIP at all cost. But I had a kind of long way around because of the people who were running all about in the chamber. Some actually were standing in the chamber while the Muslims invaded the chamber. So I took cover, Mr. Maurice, and after I recognized they were close to Mr. Robinson and they had covered him. I was there taking cover, and at the same time getting some members of the public who were there to witness the parliamentary proceedings. I was telling them, "Stop, get down," because they were there. I mean, they're not trained, and they were very scared. They were very, very, very scared. And as I said, I don't have any issue with people who were scared, even police officers who were there in uniform doing what they consider to be a ceremonial duty at the chamber. They weren't armed, and a lot of them ran out of the chamber. A lot of people.
And change
I
your clothes.
remember this.
And change your clothes.
Some of them probably changed their clothes as well. And I remember distinctly when they came in, the Muslim came in the chamber. They said, "Where Robinson? Where Richardson? Where Sanderson?" Right? One of the sites that I will always remember, because I got a lot of flack for it, was Muriel Donovan in high heels running past me, and get out of the chamber. And some of my colleagues said, "Pillows." I said, "If I wanted to run, no way Muriel Donovan McDavidson could have run me, or Sanderson, because Sanderson ran out of the chamber." And but my duty is that, hey, listen, you're a trade man, you have to go towards the VIP at church and protect him at all costs. And in doing so, we got a lot of licks in the chamber. Abraham Maurice, Mr. Child, myself, we were hit with gun butts all over our bodies, you know. And I can remember Bilal coming up to me, and I was covered there. And he said, who are you? I said, police. He said, take your gun, take your gun, take your gun. Right, so and they took me up, they tied me up with some plastic cord. So on the ground. And what happened there? They tied me up with something they consider to be plastic cord. And this cord was not telling me that if you resisted that try to pull it with your arms, it kind of tighten. So they told me to get up, get up. That time, the feet were already bound with the plastic cord, and my hands were bound with plastic. So I can't get up. I can't get up. So they untied the they cut off the plastic cord from my feet, and I was told to go. They carried me up, escorted me with guns to where Mr. Robinson was. That's about 5 to 10 feet, right? And they threw me on top of the pile with Mr. Robinson and Mr. Maurice and Mr. Charles. And they started to beat us. And one of the Muslims, I could distinctly remember him saying, hey, you must trouble all the giving. And they started to beat us, right? At that time, and I was a still people, you would get scared initially, but you don't stay in that mode for too long because you are a trained man. You get out of it as quickly as possible. And at the same time, the adrenaline was kicked in. So you're there, right? And then they beat us and all that. And after a time, Bilal, who was in charge of the posse or the group that was in Parliament, he said, leave them fellas alone. They had the work to do, right? So I been on top of the pile, along with Mr. Robinson. I noticed one of my colleagues, Mr. Charles, he was bleeding from his head. So, gosh, well, my partner, I know we are saying, when he dead, there was a lot of blood coming from his head. But in the meantime, they were telling me, he said, hey, you get up. So I got up, they lifted me up, and they said, go, walk down to the considered to be the northwestern entrance to the parliamentary chamber. And I was walking very slowly. But while I was walking down, there were two guys escorting me down on either side of me. My hands were still bound. But before that, I had on what we, or what some of ourselves consider a new shirt jacket. First time I was wearing it. So I said, before we entered the parliament, I told them, I said, fellas, I went a new PAB this morning. Well, in the chamber, that new shirt jacket went to naught because those fellas stood up in front of me and actually cut it off of me, right? And I say, well, why didn't I get cut? But they were holding it in such a way that when they making some clean cuts. When they cut, I just had to strip it off of my shoulders and it fell to the ground. So as they say, I was in my jockey shorts, right, and walking down this chamber very slowly, because one of the things that we have learned while we were trained, we did extensive training with the SAS and the British and the American into protective security. And they say one of the things you do is to use common sense. And even though they told me to go ahead, to come out of the chamber, they were escorting me. I was walking slow and deliberate because these fellas have guns on me. And when I went to open the door that leads to the chamber from the northwestern side, they said something in Arabic. I don't know what they said. And one of the guys who was escorting me, he actually went and he opened the door. He opened the door. And then he said, go ahead. And while I was going ahead, I was walking down the steps. And God rest this guy, so that was Muriel Donovan McDavison's sofa at the time. He was fall off at the bottom of the steps. He appeared to be dead to me. I had to actually step over that guy. Real nice guy. And I had to step over. So in doing so, I went across. I heard some of my colleagues, who is deceased now, by the name of Hercules, was across by where Defense Force headquarters. And he said, Progress. And another guy by the name of Villafana. He said, come. And what was amazing about in all of it was that there were civilians gathered at the by the headquarters there. And that was where the courts were. And they were actually taking everything like it's a movie. Because there were explosions, gunshots, and everything. And when I say gunshots and explosions, it's something that the trained man, with Maurice, myself,
Danger.
Charles,
Yeah.
we knew about those things. So we would not jump people see. All right, we know the danger in that. And it was like, if I could coin a phrase and say jokingly here, I was like music to us at the time. You know, when you hear those type of things in mass, it's a takeover. All right? So we wouldn't be afraid or frightened as the average person. But suffice it to say, when I got across to my colleagues there, a guy by these deceased as well, my colleagues from the branch, Mr. Villafana. Fellas say, what's happening inside the boy? I say, boy, Charles and Maurice still inside the place, boy. And then fellas beat us up at everybody probably could have seen I got them blues, right? And I think, and the Johnson was a part of that group, was across there. And I found it very strange that people following me. We waited a little while because I say Maurice and Charles in the chamber, we are a team. So I say Maurice and Charles still inside. Villafana, remember him? God rest his soul, he's deceased now. He loaned me a shoejack, a cotton shoejack. And the first time I will say it again, this is my way of dealing with, as I say, give myself some therapy. I joke about it. It's the first time I playing juvie on a Friday, almost in a jock shorts alone. And Maurice came down a little while after. I say, Maurice, boy, with Charles. He said, boy, Charles still around. He was right behind him. So I said, thank God. He was alive. So we waited about 5 to 10 minutes by the old courts, headquarters is at this time. And we didn't see Charles. It was a reasonably enough time, right? Apparently he went in another direction, away from that location. And we went across we reached across a little section of people behind us, like a little juve band, wanted to find out what happened if the Prime Minister alive, if he dead, what happened inside the chamber, and Johnson was with us. And we walked from that area straight across to Charlotte Street. I think we went across, but anyway, we ended up on Charlotte Street by a little guest house. I can't remember by Park Street there. Going up where they had a cinema. I think it was Pyramid Cinema or something. And we went and they gave us some more clothes, some old clothes, which we were appreciative. We were glad to get Maurice and myself. And from there, we got a drop. We got a lift to Maurice and myself. We got a lift up to the Prime Minister's residence because Maurice is a very good commander. I would say, I'll say it anyway. He said, we have to go and let Mr. Robinson know what is happening with her husband. And we went up to the residence. Everybody knew us up there who were there, the soldiers, the police officers who do protect security up at that end. So they allowed us to go into the residence, and we had an audience with Mrs. Robinson, and Maurice assured her that when he left, he was alive and everything else. And from there, we spoke with her for a bit. And then the army had a group of officers stationed up at the Prime Minister's residence, where they got in contact with, I think it was Camp Ogden. And the Camp Ogden people took us across. So the guard detail at up at the Prime Minister's residence, they took us across to Camp Ogden. And there we were briefed. I can remember speaking to, at the time, I think it was a Major Brown, or some army officers were there. The hierarchy, they were asking us how the situation is in terms of how many men came in the chamber and everything else. And we were able to give them some, I consider to be intelligence, some good information. And but it is something that I think not only police officers who weren't trained were scared, the whole population was scared. Even down at that Camp Ogden, there were soldiers who were scared because every minute you hear do and everybody ducking, which is, I would think, is a normal thing to do. But it was one of those days I don't want to relive or our nation to have to experience. Even after so many years.
After the event, how do you, in your view, how was the post-event debriefing? Did you all receive any specialist help, psychological, social? Did you all receive any type of a prolonged counseling and intervention after these events?
I think all those terms you use are very good terms, but I would say no to all.
Wow.
We had to cope. Apart from just going and see probably the police psychiatrist for 2 minutes to see after some how you feeling now and all that, that's about it. It's some total. Whereas those parliamentarians who were in the chamber, they got like a month, I would consider it to be holiday.
Wow.
Getting some treatment for trauma. But we didn't get anything.
Wow.
Maurice and myself, Charles, we almost worked right after we were on duty. Wow. And the reason for it, and Maurice and I spoke among ourselves, it's not that we were braver than anybody else, but we wanted to pull some troops together because there are some men in our organization, some special branch officers who weren't trained in security, VIP, they weren't trained to deal with any matters like that, right? So we were there to give them some support.
Yeah.
And I remember Maurice and I used to take turns driving a Long Beach patrol to pick up persons at their residences and drop them back home in the evening. After that, there was some personnel in the Federation Park area who wanted to give us some food stuff and all that. Maurice and I were heading that group to go and collect those items. And not as I say we were even anybody else, but he knew at that time we wanted to give lend some support and give some morale to those who were untrained.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Pilgrim, thanks for sharing. I thank you. I know this is not a day you want to remember per se, but what you have shared would stay with us young people and younger people like myself, because we hardly get a bird's eye view of what went on inside. And we really do thank you for your sacrifice. I mean, you put your life on the line, as you say, training, but this was the real thing. I don't know how
It's the
many
real thing, it's the real
officers
thing.
could talk about facing the real thing, but we're going to a break now. Thanks for sharing. Have a good afternoon.
A pleasure chatting with you guys.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Join us after the break.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
Is a whole lot of flavor wrapped up in a twist. Some of them try to rap, but they don't rap like this. With crispy KFC tenders and lettuce and carrots and shredded tortilla embedded, perfect wherever you headed. Dripping with that creamy mayo and that mambo sauce. Let me tell them one more time to get my point across. It's a craveable, crunchable, movable, functional, flavorful meal that your taste buds must endorse. KFC, crunch twist, crunch twist. None of them, they don't make it like this.
Introducing KFC's Crunch Twist, a flavorful wrap with a delicious difference for just $29.95. KFC, it's finger licking good.
The 2026 Pan-African Festival TT, commemorating emancipation, the greatest celebration of Africa outside of Africa, at the Lijiasu Omawale Emancipation Village, Queens Park, Savannah. 1 full week of shopping, music, food, and African pride. July 25th, it's the grand opening of the village. July 26th, Family Day, Food Fair, Youth Pan, Jazz at Sunset, and Pan by Moonlight. July 27th, Ancestral Night. July 28th, Shikamoo, Super Blue. July 29th, Youth Day, Rapso Time, tribute to Oba Dread. July 30th, Pan-African Night. July 31st, Unity Reggae Concert. Each day it's Rhythm and Voices of Africa. And August 1st, Emancipation Day, tribute to our ancestors. Kambule Street Procession and Flambeau Procession. The Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago, igniting African consciousness, dismantling colonial legacies.
Join us.
A strictly local radio show, blazing the best positive hits out of TT.
Hottest radio show.
Welcome. You are now locked in.
Every Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m., blazing the very best in Trinbago music and more, sending the heartbeat of the Twin Islands straight to the world.
This service is a massive communication product that aims to provide a new media platform for local TT entrepreneurs.
You're now locked into one of the hottest radio shows.
Send us your voice notes or call in live and rep your district. Whether you're in East, West, North, South, or Sweet Tobago, this is your show, your sound, your culture.
Hottest radio show.
Strictly local, hosted by the one and only DJ Flex 868. Don't miss it. Every Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. Only on the streets 91.9 FM. The vibes, the culture, the sound of Trinbago.
We blaze all the best in TT. Hashtag rep your district.
KFC onion rings, bring the sauce, bring the sauce. Come to the crunch like a boss, like a boss. Add a ring, show me onion ring, onion ring, onion ring, in your ring, ding. Show me your onion ring, it's a ring, ding. Yes, it's a brand new thing called onion ring. Level up your order. Onion ring, chicken sandwich full of flavor. Add a ring to your twister. Somebody better go and run tell the neighbor. Add a ring, show me onion ring, onion ring, onion ring, in your ring, ding. Show me your onion ring, it's a ring, ding. Yes, it's a brand new thing called onion ring.
Show off your ring at KFC with the new onion ring chicken sandwich for $34.95, or get a regular side of rings for just $15.
Upgrade your main meal and your side piece too. KFC onion rings are on the menu. Add a ring in every ding ding. Add a ring, KFC onion rings.
KFC, show me your ring.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
And we're back. We're back. And
I was saying just before the break.
Yeah.
1990 was a very infamous day. I mean, it will go down in history as one of the days, one of the period, a very low period in Trinidad and Tobago, but a period for which we haven't learned much. I would say that 1970 was probably more the 1970s. What happened in the 1970s with the trade union and the general feeling of discontent in the society. Having the commanding heights being persons who would have inherited Trinidad and Tobago in a certain kind of way and not so much with the kind of roots that we have, they would have seen, or that era would have seen some significant changes coming out of that particular uprising, or and when I say uprising, it wasn't in no way like 1990, but to a large extent there were a lot of lessons learned, and you had changes, significant changes taking place after that. I haven't seen much of that coming out of 1990 as someone who lived it. And not only that, but what we see today, even with what we should be, what maybe we were assigned to talk about today, and that is the situation with the release of the strategic, the SSA information. That to me, says a lot about Trinidad and Tobago and where we are and where we heading and how much we haven't learned from that particular situation.
Yeah. So before we move forward, because I agree, we're gonna tie it up and move forward and engage you members of the pavilion. I want to say thank you to retired Inspector Arjun Singh, who received his award of bravery. That was the first caller that we spoke to, and then the first guest we spoke to, sir, and then Mr. Dave Pilgrim, former Special Branch Security Detail of the late Prime Minister Ian R. Robinson. And we did not get onto Mr. Kenrick Tong, who was the driver of Mr. Ian R. Robinson. We were unable to reach him, but I am aware that this is a very, very sensitive day for him. He's very sad at this day. He is now an amputee in the line of his duty. And we've all heard about how governments care about you when it's done. And these men, to give them a medal and give them all these things is one thing, but there's a basic, decent way of care, medically and otherwise, that should not be even in question. It is so shameful that 36 years after, these men languish medically with their health, and that's what you don't get back. Mentally, you don't get back. It's like when you come from the war and something affects you, you don't get that back at all. The war could go on, it could stop, it could start.
You live your life almost all for the rest of your life with post-traumatic
Correct.
stress disorder and that
Correct.
kind of thing. All kind of psychological effects that comes out of these things.
Correct. And both the state and the service owe these employees a duty of care. They owe them. And all the employees actually under their watch who risk their lives for the protection of the state and state personnel and state apparatus. And it was very sad when Mr. Pilgrim pointed out after that parliamentarians were on leave, but they were at work. And these are men with families. These are men with, obligations, financial and otherwise. You went to work one day and you come home, and after a while you're an amputee. How do you feed your family? How do you survive? And
more than likely would have been his last day on duty.
Correct.
Ever.
And we want to say thank you, gentlemen, publicly. Publicly, we want to say thank you.
All those who would have fallen on that
Yes.
particular day, because a
Yes.
significant amount of officers, police officers from the beginning,
Yes.
would have died at the explosion and,
Yes.
and other places, because it was about three areas for which the Jamats they would have
Targeted, yeah.
They would have targeted the main source of news, which is right next door there, over the road.
Yeah,
TTT.
we closed the TTT.
Yeah, next door.
Yeah.
Right? So they would have targeted TTT, and then they would have targeted the headquarters. The first point of contact was the headquarters, and of course, the Parliament, the Red House.
So the big question moving forward is, have we learned? in your mind, from your observation, from the limited information you may have, and I may have, I don't have all the information. Do you think that we have learned, and let me specify here, we're talking about the conditions and the antecedents that gave rise to an event like this. The things that provoke, the things that foster the feelings. We don't have the Jamaat al-Muslimin leader with us anymore. Worse yet, they don't play that role in society as they did then.
To me, they were cogs.
And that's true.
They were cogs.
That's true.
What would have happened? The probably environment and everything lend itself to a large extent.
Yes.
So they took the opportunity. That was an opportunity that they take. So I wouldn't like our first interviewee who would have lightened it to a large extent to what's happening all over the world with Muslim and that kind of thing. I think they were Trinidadians, and they wouldn't, while they may have some connections, they weren't connected. And I know a lot of them, as a matter of fact, who went on to be successful men and women, school principal, doctors. I went to school with a few who became very successful after that. So, but they have their own story to tell, and I don't think that it had much connection with.
But it's very telling how we care for people who serve. And somehow we figure out how to praise and award and recognize very prominent people. That seems like we know how to do that. That's easy. And there's no question about what we need to give them. If we could give them a new heart, we will do that. But people who serve in public service and in very, very sensitive areas are still left undone. Let me take this caller because our pavilion is tuned in. Good afternoon, caller.
Hi, good afternoon. We can say your brother Madison. And to your co-host, Mr. Rollocks. Yes, hello?
Yeah, go ahead, caller.
Yes, sir. I would say no, we haven't learned in one aspect when it comes to that final point. They do not treat our servicemen good and women good at all. So we have not, that is one aspect. And that is not just only here in Trinidad, you have seen it in most countries across the world, in certain levels. Because I grew up, where I grew up, there's a lady, she said she was on sentry duty. She was an active police officer, but she was just posted there that day. And to this day, she is retired now. She the pension she gets, so she has to do the odds, and she will do the other sideline thing to still work besides her pension. So in a general aspect, no, I will say no, we have not learned a way to deal with those who would have served us and who would have gone to the extra distance. Because you would see our politicians pay me my money, I do like my money to sleep outside, and I want me this and I want me that. No, they must get it. Those who sit down in the AC of the parliament must get there what they're supposed to get. I am not saying you are not pulling, you are not signing off for this or that or the other, but those who are in the line of fire, they are totally left behind. To an extent, we have learned at a certain point because we know how to probably take a more serious role in the way of protecting the country. So we go to other countries to help with infrastructure and weaponry and whatever the case. But my peeve is that same point you bring up there, you brought up there, is about the way they treat our service across the board. And they need to do better than that. Yes. My father is a retired police officer, and look how they, even though he was retired before the coup, because he's 93.
Wow.
They don't even treat them good. Wow. And he's also a member of the fraternity and all. And they don't even treat them good and all.
Wow.
So, that is my view. And as I'm living with a former serviceman who is my father, as I said, and a fellow brethren, no, they don't love them.
Yeah.
But we still love our country. And hard as it may be, Trinidad is ours. So, locked on listening as usual. Program is always good. As I said, I always get a call in, but I'm always an active listener.
Thank you, caller. we have not learned about the seeds of dissent. How do we deal? Are we sowing the seeds of dissent all over again? Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Matheson and the Rolex man. So I wanna say from my perspective what I take from the 1990 coup. And I was a young guy at that time, obviously, right? So this to me, it's strange, eh, that so much loss of life and infrastructure and again a feedback on the phone. But doesn't know hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
We hear you loud and clear. You're coming across perfect.
Okay. But, yeah, all of this happening with so much loss of life and infrastructure and business. Yet the man was set free. It have certain things that I learned over the years that it never add up. Like we was Manning and Sandy that they did. They went to the beach. You know. Also, again, I feel that's like confusing listening on the phone right now. Because I have the radio on and whatnot, so I don't know. I hear myself back on the radio. On my call, actually. Anyway, let me say this quickly. This 1990 coup, to me, looks like an economic hit, paid for. Because if we look, there was a certain group of people that was cock and ready to take advantage of this fire sale. And over the years, I've monitored all different angles. I appreciate the gentlemen. These gentlemen and them need national awards. They should have been taken care better than that, because they risked their life and limb while some run, they stayed, they suffered a course. So like I say, in my view, 1990 was a paid economic hit for a certain sector of society to take over businesses and become the trillionaires that we see in today. These things don't just be coincidence. These are planned, everything planned in my book, because I'm looking at international terrorism as well. So it's a little bits and bobs I adding up, and I saying, but wait now. Manning disappear, Basil take a day off, that day. Then you have these strategic attack. Everything was looted. The people who actually own these businesses threw up a fire sale, and this community swooped in and was ready to accept it. So it doesn't settle right with me, personally. And I think it's something that was swept under the carpet. But these aged men who call in here, I don't know if any one of them ever wrote a book or whatever in history, but it's very important. And to me, and this is my view, not the view of the radio station, that 1990 was a paid-for economic hit, just because the man who did it was set free to roam the land after causing so much mayhem and destruction. This went up to a higher order. This to me had political involvement and financial involvement. I would listen off air, or if you guys want to ask a question, no problem. But we're not learning from this 1990. And you know, the way how things drumming up in the country, it might have a part two for some reason. But that's just my view.
No problem, caller. Thanks for calling.
Appreciate it.
Perspectives. And certainly there's merit.
But
I've never considered
in relation to
the economic argument. I've never considered it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see where it has roots. I would need more facts than that. But if you're talking about an economic reset that allowed those with capital to help rebuild,
well, obviously,
and therefore position themselves.
If you had the capital, but I don't think it was any plan between the insurrectionists and the economists.
And the capitalists? Why not?
I didn't see that. The insurrectionists were set free because they would have held the politicians' captivity. And if you remember the history, I think it was some days after there was they would have gotten they would have signed something saying that if we end
amnesty.
That amnesty, if we end this is what will happen, and that end up standing up in law, in a court of law. And that is what while maybe you couldn't use trickery to do it anyway, right? So some people might have said that, well, why they didn't do it in a certain way that these people would not be able to slip through the cracks. It don't work like that in law, you know that. Right?
No, I think you're missing the argument. You're missing the argument that the capitalists and the economists and the foot soldiers could really be one homogeneous group, for the simple reason that the foot soldiers need to be funded. That calls for capital. The politicians will do what the politicians do. Now, I am not one for conspiracy theories because I've never really followed it. But it is not far-fetched to say that it was orchestrated, not the release part. The capitalists will not be dealing with the release because that was done through the amnesty and the politicians and whatever had to be done legally. But I think it's something is worth examining. I don't have the facts to say that because I've never made that link before. But I always knew, as you just said, that the foot soldiers were just the foot soldiers. They're just the muscle.
I wouldn't even entertain that conspiracy. I hadn't seen it. I think it was opportunity. I think the millionaires or the people who rose
were
out
just
of
fortuitous.
They were, yes,
but,
exactly.
But Stephen, there's enough evidence in Trinidad now, where you are now. Forget what you knew then. Look at Trinidad now.
You see,
there's enough evidence to suggest that a lot of things in Trinidad are much more coordinated than we think.
I agree with you.
Looking at it now, back then I wouldn't really. That's far-fetched for me back then. But looking at it now, I would have a second look. Let me take this caller. Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon. So, last caller connected the dots that I just explained.
Yes, you did.
So, this is not a story. This is a story came out. That dot was connected 1 year after this incident. As a young man, we connected that dot 1 year after that incident. Because who funded you? We understand your views. But your institution, how was you allowed to import these arms? How you were allowed to pass customs? How you was allowed to train people? How that happened to miss the police? The secret service that we had at the time, how these things able to miss these fellas?
The same way that I'm missing them right now.
Well, then we in real problems. That is why, because you know what, as you say that, it is so foolish that the minister, what they call him now, the strong man, what portfolio the game? Anyhow, go come to tell us today, no, the commissioner of police, go come to tell us today that I am forming an investigation to find out how did this audio come out, this 15 minutes audio, to find out. He ain't saying that ain't true, you know. You know that? None of them is saying, you see that what come out there? That is AI generated and that ain't so. He going and form an investigation to find out, well, here we're going on. Father, I understand there's only 3 state security agencies have that ability. The police, some
SSA.
excuse me? SSA and somebody else, the National Defense Force. Right? So somebody between there, first to begin, you had to tell me who was listening. Was it the SAA? Was it the police? Who brought the information to Alexander? First thing first, one out of the 3. They ain't telling me which one out of the 3 yet. Then you had to tell me, well, if you tell me which one of the 3, then we have to look to which one it is that the leak had to come from. But you telling me you're going on for that can't make sense because you already know which one gather the information. So you go in and form an investigate. You have to investigate whoever come with the information. If you look sharp, you have to investigate the strong man first. That make them look very bad. That make what the Attorney General said in the Parliament as though that here we're going on is true. They listen to a simple conversation. Then people say, well, I'm going and call Harry or Jane and line up Jane to go and get a gun to nothing of that nature. But you arrest, you tell them in the early stages, you could be who or what. That man over there, yes, I had to call him because like Alexander responded to him, so he had to call him by the correcting member of parliament for so and so. Yes, he has the ability to issue a PDO. And they continue to, they win the matter, they come back, they come on. So we looking like, how to put it? It seems as though now, think about that theory we now come up with, right? Based on 1990. And think about this theory. The 1% amongst one race fighting the 1% of our next race. And that's a hell of a theory, and it seems as though, I went in a big supermarket and realized that here we're going on. You see that water that I'm selling? Not in that supermarket anymore. And you remember I tell you sometime who get the contract for the water? Well, they come and they take it back from that company and they give it a SMG. They play with my mind and in 5 days' time they change it. What does that tell you? Not economic hitman. And because we had a man named Dolce. Gets so big here. Hear what I tell you? He gets so big, he built Bolte, and he was untouchable. And his lawyer became our Attorney General. Why can't I connect the dots, Mr. Madison? Enjoy the afternoon.
How do we deal with dissent? How do we deal in the abundance of intelligence today? Are we making the same mistakes? And I wouldn't say intelligence, I would say information, because there's a big difference about how you use the information. And if we have that ability, how come people just make little call from the prison and call people and trend? It's funny. I don't know why we call it intelligence. I'm confused as to what we're doing with. Are we using our skills? Are we underutilizing our skills and using it for very poor reasons, very bad reasons? Because if we could do all of this, then this is a conversation with a lady. What age? I know some people half her age that you should maybe listen in to be honest.
Well, the thing is, all of this, and I'm glad the caller is timely that we talk about this, and and I'm glad the caller would have asked those questions. All of this demonstrates a number of things. The weaknesses of our intelligence services. But the release of that, not just the release of that conversation, but the conversation itself to the public has, in my opinion, a lot of implications. And it tells us what is really going on. First, it tells us that they are listening to us, right? And it is not something I don't know. I know. Me personally, I know I am being listened to all the time. I don't know for what reason, but I know I'm being listened to. But the thing is, it tells us, it exposes a certain malaise, in my opinion, in the security services, right? Because if something like this, for which you hinge a very critical element of your story to incarcerating people, could be released in that cavalier kind of way, then it tells us that we ain't ready as a national security and that kind of thing.
We ain't so secure.
We ain't so secure. We ain't ready, right? Yeah. Because that, to me, when you listen to that, I listened to that tape and I didn't really see much to say as to why these people are being held. And so I would have agreed with the laws who said that, it didn't really meet the standard, but at the same time, the contents of that says a lot a lot about Trinidad and Tobago and where the fight is really.
Are we uncomfortable with dissent?
Hmm?
Are we uncomfortable with dissent?
Well, looks so to me. To me, I am happy and comfortable in my skin. Me personally, I am happy, and nothing you could say about me or call me what kind of animal or whatever. It bothers me in any way, but that is me.
You know, Fidel, there's a quote that I learned at university in doing some Spanish literature. It's a quote from the Cuban Revolution, where Castro's, one of his quotes says, "Dentro de la revolución, todo derecho. Contra la revolución, ningún derecho." Which basically says, within the revolution, you have all rights to do anything. But against the revolution, you have no rights. None. None. So, I say that to say that we as I was reading an article by Mr. Khan, who felt that the judges should not be attacked, and members of the jury and the literature society are beyond criticism from the common man because he didn't go law school. Wait until the judgment come out. How dare you criticize a member of the Court of Appeal because you didn't go to Gray's Inn. You didn't read the big book. You do not have a right to criticize. And that is a thinking, a philosophy that is pervading. Well,
it has always been a philosophy that that ilk is held sacrosanct, and it is really one of the pillars that would or should be guarded from certain kind of scrutiny in a certain kind of way. If it is to maintain its independence, I'm just saying, right? From time immemorial, from even the ancient days, when you are taken to that place where a few men decide the rest of your life, your survival, those persons are held as sacrosanct. But think of it, they are men, equal men, just like us, and therefore they could make the same kind of errors. They could, a normal man looking at it, they are not, they eating the same thing and defecate in the same way like we are, and therefore you should be held to some kind of standard. And if we are not seeing that, if the society is not able to understand that to the extent that they have, and if you look at what happened here, there are a number of people who will be praising the judicial system right now.
Well, I have a divergent view. I do not see them beyond criticism. We criticize members of the Privy Council. We criticize members of the U.S. Supreme Court, depending on the judgments that are handed down. We are to accept it because that is the rule of law. But the rule of law does not absolve you from any criticism from anyone.
Correct.
It doesn't, and it shouldn't. If you decide to overturn the law and take matters into your own hand, that's a different thing. But I've heard time immemorial different attorneys and different learned people criticizing judgments. That's how it is. A criticism of a judgment and a decision is not a criticism of you. That is when you're shallow. That is when you're thin-skinned. If I did not like the decision handed down, I didn't like it.
Okay, so then the same could be said about the politicians.
Exactly. That is where I was going. Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon. Well, that applies to the San Fernando Law Association. No, what do you call that? the San Fernando law, because they are not the law association.
Yes.
But they jumped out last week on 2 occasions, if I'm not mistaken, to tell the citizens, well, you mustn't have no conversation about that. Leave that and let the matter go to the court. And I'm saying, who are they? Who they jump out on behalf of to tell us that we shouldn't have no dialogue over what's taking place? When the man who is sanctioning the PDO has no legal settings at all and disobey the same people that he just appointed who are legal minds to tell he release the people, and he's still holding them. But we mustn't talk. Why? So that make me ask myself, I wonder if the law association in South is politically involved. These are the things that I ask yourself, Mr. Matterson. Are they speaking on behalf of one group of people because of the group of people that is in power? And next group of people mustn't make noise? Why? Because you have what? Say your name. Silk. So because you are named Silk, I have no sense, I must not respond when I see stupidity. These are the things that we are facing right now under this administration. Don't say nothing. Otherwise, if you look sharp to borrow my team, a PDO might come for me. That is how we fight crime. The PNM had a state of emergency for 105 days. And I didn't see people be arrested for them level of thing. And yeah, we're going on. The government in power now sing all kind of song. And when they get into office, they tell them we go solve crime in 60 days. And how are they going to solve that? Lego CPEP, Lego URP, Lego forestry, and everybody wins. So now they're questioning themselves if we go have another 1990. Don't talk that because the PDO could sanction for you. Because you're upsetting the population. I see that they increase what they call this new thing? They say everybody cutting grass, but now all of a sudden the people who cutting grass ain't riding no bicycle again now, you know. They're pulling up in SUVs and I say, but wait now. I thought this thing supposed to start for the poorest of the poor. So anybody could tell me how I get in and walk in that place? Because I walk, you know. I could carry 2 men. Mr. Patterson, you know how? Tell me where to go now. Somebody could tell me.
Yeah, that's KFC.
Nah, he have a link by a link, and because he started talk all of a sudden, he gets silent. Because he get all money. Life is a hell of a thing, you know, boy. Look at that. You don't even hear him again. Because he get a little chuckle.
He probably get paid.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. So that's why I tell PNM, only listen, you know. Listen, you see how a man get a few dollars and get quiet? If we don't check ourselves and they're able to get that gas that we plan to get in 2027 and they're able to give everybody all work, everybody go do like KFC and forget all what's going on. Now, Mr. Matterson, them thing why I talking with me, just like how they forget I have a former attorney general before the court and I pay me to defend me right now. Like that, if they pay them to do that, you think that it's possible, Mr. Matterson? You have a matter against the state. The same state turn around and hire you. And I still have an attorney general sit down there. Mr. Martin, you be stupid. We have to be a dotage. I have a man has a matter before the court with a former attorney general, with a man in England. I didn't go and lock you up from there, you know. The England government sent me back here to give a statement about the wire transfer that he was sending to Trinidad and Tobago. That man in charge of NGC, you know. That man gave a brief along with 2 English lawyers to fight the same matter, you know, Mr. Matterson. That's why I said to you just recently, a criminal lawyer cannot be a politician in Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Matterson. Especially when they come from the UNC. It is worse. Think about it.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
How are we dealing with dissent? How are we trying to manage dissent by telling people what they could talk and can't talk about? Do you think that society in 2026 will accept that? Don't you see that as fuel? That could only be fuel. Look at the Philippines. Look at other countries, you are actually putting gas in the vehicle. It's actually, the more you open up avenues for dissent, you try to channel them in productive ways, and everybody will not.
You get to diffuse eventually.
Correct. And everybody will not hold a conference where we come with papers. Good? It ain't have no conference and pass the street. It wouldn't have any conference in the beta.
But listen, we are under a state of emergency.
Yeah.
And that means something, right? As limited as you might think, because we were talking about 1990. The 1990 state of emergency wasn't like this. Of course, there was a curfew and that to do things in a particular kind of way and that kind of thing. Everybody looked at. But it is not to say that persons' rights are constitutionally taken away. We are on the radio right now, we are talking, and we are very objective in other ways. But, I hear what the public is saying, and we have to understand the legality of certain things. We have to understand the rights that were taken away from some people. We have to understand and what the court would have established in the decision that was made a few days ago. And we have to not necessarily tiptoe around all of that, but we have to analyze it and understand where blame must be laid in certain areas and for what is happening right now. And I will agree with you and anybody who say that, listen, I don't know who advising these people, but
the state of emergency will give any state, any government, special powers, especially when in terms of action. What I fail to accept is that it limits your ability to think.
Good. Thinking is still legal to think.
It's still legal to think. And if it's still legal to think, it's still legal to disagree.
Correct.
I may not be able to take that disagreement to the streets because of the states of emergency.
Correct. That's what I'm trying to say.
But my ability to say that I disagree and my ability to think for myself
Not taken away.
will cause limits on those things, will cause a bottleneck that some bright person will take advantage of the fuel in the tank. We are sowing the seeds, in my view, all over again. You painted the picture of 1990 economically and what were the antecedents. And we have to remember what was going on. David Rod in his song told us about what was going on in the world. Perestroika, he talked about several things. And the point about those things is that they affect your mind. They affect your thinking. Poverty, Ethiopia, we are the world. Now is the time. That was 88 and 86. So the world was going through, and those things have an effect on your mind.
And this is why I keep asking the question. If we understood the antecedents of that and we understand the reality of what's going on now, it's not much. Well, there's some
similarity.
striking similarities.
Correct.
Right? And so these things happen in eras. These things happen in particular kind of time. And we had to think about all of those things. But I want to say one other thing. And that is that everybody living through this period, but some people will emerge more successful than others.
Correct.
And the reason is some people, they're not nonchalant, they understand what's going on, but they learn to take advantage of these kind of things. And if you aren't taking advantage, then you might be just a pleb. You don't understand, the game is always rigged.
Yes.
It is always rigged, not in your favor. But you had to find a way to strategically either align yourself or strategically analyze the situation to your benefit.
And that is the higher calling.
Right.
And I agree with you. It is the role of civil society, and it should also be the role of our university to, in a time like this, guide those who might be less able to decipher what is important, because there are a lot of emotions, mixed emotions, economic hardship.
A lot of people talking, but they know how they're benefiting from it.
Correct.
So that talk and
Correct.
that
Correct.
kind of thing. Yeah, they benefit from it.
And
you can understand how to.
This is a very, 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 a very narrow corridor. This could be the Bocas. And we don't know how we will come out on the other end. This could be the Bocas. Because I am observing, I am listening. I am not of extremist views. And I know a lot of the exchange of words on both sides are political in nature. And they're not targeted at me, so I'm not claiming it. And I'm not going to defend anything. It doesn't really need any defending. Some of us have to know when not to fight other people's battles as well. Because as you just said, we have our own. And that is survival. How are we to come out on the other side of this?
Correct, and this is what I'm saying. If we only understand that the game is rigged all the time and this is not in our favor, it will never be.
Correct.
Right? So you have to find a way.
And don't get sidetracked.
Right? Don't get sidetracked. Don't just beat up.
Yeah.
You find a way to wiggle yourself out of it and benefit from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like those post 1990 have done.
Correct.
Tongue burn down, okay, all right. We gonna help build it back up.
That's what I say. That's where I was going. That's where I was going.
Are we able to come out on top of this little Bocas? Are we positioning ourselves? Or we tie up with the wow? We getting excited with all the fanfare and the fireworks.
It happens in all walks of life, in all areas. In the workplace, it happens. You see things happening in the workplace, and you're thinking it in some level, but you have to sit down and strategize how you're getting out of this, because at the end of the day, the game is always rigged. It is always rigged.
Callers, the number to call is 342-008-14665-391. Let us know if you think we have learned as a society from 1990. And do you see similarities between the antecedents and the genesis and the seeds of that period and what we are going through now? A quite different period, but you see economic hardship, especially around the world. Some people has get bright and other people has get brighter. You thinking about how to be free, and the man next to you thinking about how to make you a slave. How I could make this man a slave boy.
The man next to you thinking about
how to enslave you.
He could become a millionaire.
Yeah. How to enslave you. You looking for freedom, but he's
either giving you some kind of partial freedom.
Yeah.
Or
but so if our focus is always caught up in the fanfare and the rum and roti and the old talk, and we're not getting down to listen how I can take advantage of this, what opportunities are there? Because when you study those rich people around the world, Musk is one, they make their money in debt. Now they do have to do so, but they see opportunity where we see fear. They see opportunity while we all talking and peacock and that those things are decoys.
Looking at adversarialism and who like who and who like who.
Those things are decoys, definitely.
Kind of thing. Now, we
but we're not sure. We're not sure. Callers, I'm not sure. Call me. You tell me. 342-0081-4665391. I am not sure that we have learned from 1990. I mean, I think intellectually we sent the coup where everything of worth goes to die in Trinidad. That's a commission of inquiry. We pay people. We print a lot of documents. And
people become millionaires.
That is it. People become millionaires. Good. What happens in our education system? There's no nexus. There's no connection. What happens in the university? Well, that is even further. So that book that we produce is for a shelf. Nobody there even criticize it. That's to show you we lack that intellectual capacity. In another place, somebody will take that and come out with the latest edition of the Commission and Inquiry and tear it up and rip it up and do one of their own, because it's not, as you always say, groupthink. That is what they said in the Commission of Inquiry, but I telling you, and this is what, and that will stimulate deeper thought. But we know that this is where things go to die.
You know, after going through university a couple times, you come to realize, sometimes you look at, you come to realize that this whole thing is really a charade. You know? This is really a mill for the plantation, where you put out you polish certain kind of machinery to be able to do exactly what you wanted to do at the end of the day. But you don't really want that machine to think. You don't really want that machine to think outside the box. Because if it start thinking outside the box, right, you disturb the whole status quo. And therefore, you'll have chaos. You'll have a different kind of problem, right? You'll have everybody wanting to be millionaires. You'll have everybody thinking like millionaires. And then you wouldn't be able to get the machinery for your plantation to do what you need to do. And to a large extent, this is why I see a lot of people that go to universities, they read books, they regurgitate the past exam, they get some of the best grades, but then they come out at the end of the year and they're looking for a job. And they're begging and they think that job is theirs. That job's supposed to be theirs. I mean, we're supposed to get that. I have 2 degrees, I have 3 degrees, I have a master's, I have a PhD. The thing is, they really haven't understood what the education system was supposed to have done for them. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm told that one of our guests, he's awaiting my call, so let me just touch base with him. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Hi, good day, Mr. Tong.
No.
Good afternoon. How are you?
How are you?
You're live on you're live on the street 91.9 FM, and we are very aware that today is a day of mixed emotions for you. We have just
It's all right. It's all right.
we
Then
just
think
have
about it.
under 8 minutes left. Share with us anything you will.
Let me see.
Tell us what you were doing
No.
on that day. What was your role on that day?
No, before the coup.
Yeah.
Before the coup, there was a thing in the air. A certain tension in the air. No, we had a training session. The early part of the year. And the jammers have training too. Right? So I always tell myself, the government preparing for war. So, and then on the day in question,
yeah,
myself and one Macmillan were leaving the residence to go to the airport. while leaving the airport, while leaving the residence cell, some little birds whisper to us, there's going to be something terrible happening that day. On our way to the airport, we collect Mr. Robinson, and we brought him back down to the residence, and then to the Red House. And all of a sudden, around 16 p.m., commotion start, explosion at the Red House, shotguns on St. Vincent Street. People started to jump the banister from the Red House to the road, coming down the steps from the Red House there now. So I took out a Uzi, and then Robinson driver came from upstairs the Red House, and he asked if it where's the other Uzi. I tell him it's in the car. So I tell him myself, well, I have somebody to watch my back. So while looking on Nook Street and watching all the commotion and things, I look around the back. I haven't seen I didn't see Mr. Robinson driver. So I was wondering where this man gone. So when I look down about Cover Street, I see some men coming up with firearms and things, right? So when they reach by the old fire station, they start shooting up the Red House. So my burst of fire and I run down by the entrance of our underground vault, the vault. And I stoop down with my Uzi. So this guy ran up the entrance and he was firing indiscriminately, and one wrong took my right instep and smashed it up in pieces. The bones shattered them. And when I tried to fire shot at him, he used his stick. And so he continued firing and he went up there. So I took off my shoe jack, took my V-neck jersey, stripped it, and banged me in the foot. So I started to drag on my ass going down south at the Red House. And one man come now with a gun, and he started to fire shots at me. But I had to lie down and backpedal. And me and he had it out firing one another. So I had to keep my head low in the drain, And there was another underground vault on the southern side of the Red House. When I reached there, I used the stick again. So I pelted one side. And I took my pistol, other pistol, and I hop on one leg and go behind the underground vault on the southern side of the Red House.
Mr. Tong, I'm going to ask you to pause there because we out of time. We're just a minute under. But we would love to chat with you again once time permits. So we're very interested in where you were going with this story and this first-hand experience. So we were trying to get you earlier, but maybe tomorrow, God's will, if you do permit, we want to get your particular experience. Okay? So do have a good afternoon.
Yeah, I think
Senior, take us out.
Tomorrow we certainly want to deal with some real issues relative to this and other things. But today today was a good day, and I really wish that those who remember today, those who are alive and experienced today 36 years ago, do understand the significance of it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time, and certainly you have a good evening, safe and blessed evening. Good evening.
You've got bills to pay. Some bills on the street 919 FM.
The presence of oxygen is absolutely the absence of disease. Most chronic diseases